Come join us for creamy lentil and vegetable soup. Today's video is creamy lentil soup. So we got a hot pot. Do some water sauteing. Make sure it's nice and hot. Add in 1 red onion, diced finely, and 3 chopped carrots. 3 chopped carrots. Let them saute till softened. About 5 minutes or so. Keep stirring them as they go. So we're going to let these saute and be back with the next step. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes. The onions are translucent, carrots are starting to soften. We're going to put, this is about a tablespoon of diced garlic. I'm just using the pre-diced stuff. You can use about 3 cloves of garlic or more depending on your taste. We like garlic in this house, so I went with about 3 teaspoons. Saute this up. At the same time, you can add, this is a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin and 1 teaspoon of curry powder. Make sure that all gets in there. Keep stirring this around. Let this get all nice and fragrant and smelling good. We're going to be using 2 cans of no salt added diced tomatoes. This is with basil and garlic and oregano here, but whatever you have on hand will work. The diced tomatoes. So now that this is really starting to smell good, we're going to dump that in, water and all. You can drain some of the water off, but I just dump it all in there. Both cans. This is a creamy lentil soup. Give this, let this saute for a few more minutes. Come up the temperature. So once this is simmering, now is when you want to add your cup of dry. I'm using brown lentils, just dry, uncooked. You can just dump these in, do a little stir around. 4 cups of vegetable broth. This is a low sodium Pacific Foods, good stuff here. Dump that in there. Get less splatter if you hit the spoon. And it's about 2.5 cups of cold water. Help those lentils cook along. So now we're going to let this cook for about 20-25 minutes, just until those lentils are nice and tender. And we'll be back. So when it comes up to a nice simmer, you're going to want to cover slightly, reduce the heat so that this simmers for 20-25 minutes. Don't forget to wash your lentils. And then this is optional, but this is the creamy. You can use beans, white beans, or you can use cashews. 1/3 of a cup of cashews. Dump them in hot water. It's not a necessary step if you have a Vitamix, but I like to do it that way. And then let these soak. The cashews, just sit them aside, let them soak for a little while.
Raw cashews?
Raw cashews, yes. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes with the lentils. I noticed that when you cook lentils or beans, for that matter, with tomato, they seem to take a little bit longer. So I cooked it for 30 minutes. Now, you can see how thick it is. Thin, the broth is thin, but at this stage of the game, you can add the kale, peas, and corn to the soup, cook it for another 10 minutes, and enjoy, and it will be delicious. But to make it a creamy, thick, creamy soup, what we want to do first, you drain off your water for your cashews. Dump them into a blender. Any blender will work. If you have a Vitamix, you don't even need to soak the raw cashews, but I like to. Take 2 cups. This is actually a three-quarter cup ladle. So I'm going to take 2 ladlefuls of the soup. And then a little bit more because, like I said, it's 3/4. I'm going to take this over to my blender and blend it up for 1 minute. Put this in a high-speed blender for 1 minute, and I'll be back to show you the results. So after a minute, you can see how it has thickened up with those cashews, and we're going to dump that right back into the soup. When blending hot, make sure you have a vented lid because you don't want it to pop and spray all over yourself. Get this back into the soup. You mix that right into the soup, and it just transforms it into this delicious, creamy soup. And now's the time where you want to put 1.5 cups of massaged kale. Take all the ribs off. You don't want any of the ribs in there. 1.5 cups kale. This is just 1/2 cup of uncooked frozen peas.
That's corn.
I'm sorry, corn. And this would be corn, I mean peas. Just give this a stir. Let this cook for another 10 minutes. So that massaged kale can break down a little more. And we will be back. And here's the finished product. Salt and pepper to taste if needed, but I find it's quite delicious as is. Thank you, and come again. Don't forget to subscribe and like our channel for more videos and other subjects.